All right, welcome back to another episode of Small Guys Podcast. Today we're doing MaXXXine Review by Ty West. In 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress Maxine Minx finally gets her big break, but a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood. A trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. This movie has a 74% critic score and a 78% audience score. Me and Brian are back reviewing this movie. We did X and Pearl. If you want to go listen to that, was a few months back to prep for this movie. Brian, what did you think?
Man, it was a movie. It was definitely a movie. No, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. We'll get into it in a little bit here as to how it held up as the trilogy, but I did have fun with it. You know, I wasn't upset, and yeah, as much fun as I had watching this in the theater, the only thing I could think of was like, damn, I really missed out not seeing X in theater or Pearl in theater.
Right.
And I'm kind of upset with myself that MaXXXine's the one that I saw in theater. But it is what it is. Can't go back now. Before we go any further, though, what was... This is asking a lot, I'm sorry. Can we get the critic and audience scores for both Pearl and X? Is this considered the weakest of the link?
Yes, I can say that for certain, but I will.
All right, that's what I figured.
Yeah, because I think we. I don't know why my thing is working here, but yeah, I saw that it was getting a lot of mixed reviews. This movie, some people liked it, some people didn't. I saw some people saying that they kind of wish it wasn't a sequel to X. They wish it was a sequel to Pearl instead. But like the sequel to Pearl kind of is X in a way.
Yeah, how would that?
You know what I mean?
How would that even work? Like what?
Right. And I don't know what else you'd really tell because Pearl, they're both on that farm, obviously.
Yeah, and we like again, X did a great job of showing that Pearl and her husband were just murdering people left and right. Anyone that came to stay there, Pearl found a reason to kill them.
Right. As a reminder, X has a 94 critic score but a 76 audience.
Okay.
And then Pearl has a 92 critic and an 83 audience.
Okay.
And this current movie that we're reviewing, MaXXXine, is 74-78. So,
okay.
Yes, critics and audiences liked it
Audiences
less.
around the same. It feels like for all three of these movies, and the critics is a little more skewed.
Yeah, Pearl's the one in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But audiences, too, to be fair to MaXXXine, only has like 250 because this movie just came out last week.
Right, and everyone's going to see Inside Out, too, and getting excited for Long Legs and
Long
shit.
Legs, yeah, Twister and the Deadpool. So it's a big month for movies.
It is a big month. And again, this is one where I almost want to say that it's like niche in a way. That there's like a certain brand of people. Like when walking out of the theaters, the girls that were walking out of there reminded me of my girlfriend, and I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Like, you fucking were stoked for Pearl and X. Like, this makes total sense.
Yeah, so like I remember sending you the trailer to this a few months back, all excited because I liked the 80s era of music and like the way people dressed, and so I was very excited for it. And you were like, we'll see. You didn't really. It seemed like your hopes weren't too high when you saw the trailer.
I remember Mandy was thinking the same thing. I remember we were at her house and you sent it to me, and I was like, "Oh, babe, like this came out, like we got to watch it." And we watched the trailer. I remember both of us being skeptical, and again, we did talk about it in both our Pearl and X episodes that like if they nailed this third one, this might go down as like one of the best trilogies ever made. And from the trailer and now even seeing the movie, it felt like it was going to fall short. That like the vibe was right, but like just how epic both those stories were, it worked better. Like it almost seems like it would work better as a duo, and that this was just more of a fan service, and that they had kind of fucked themselves by announcing that, hey, this is going to be a trilogy. And then the fact that COVID happened, which again, COVID is the reason we even got Pearl, so you can't really even blame COVID, but this movie took another fucking 3 years to come out. 2021 was when Pearl came out, I believe.
Yeah.
So waiting that long kind of killed some of the hype, and then...
Or 2022.
2022.
Beginning of 2022.
Okay, so they're like, two and a half years roughly. and again from the trailer, I like the vibe. I know that we're following Maxine, but it was more so how is this going to tie in, and the way that it tied in, it I don't want to say it upset me, but it was almost like expected, you know? Like this one didn't have that shock factor. Like at the end, when you figure out who it actually is, you're like, kind of like, okay, well, that kind of that makes total sense because how else the
Hmm.
fuck would you tie this to the previous two movies?
Right. Yeah. And two, like, it felt like the box office, or not the box office, but the budget rather, was much more for this movie, and probably just coming off the success of the other two. And like
Mm.
you mentioned, it was during COVID when they filmed both those first two movies, so they kind of were stuck mainly on that like farm.
Right, and that's kind of I think that's also what made it cooler was
Mhm.
like that you watch X and it's this newer movie that has the slasher aspect from the 80s and it's fucking sick and the kills are way cooler and again we'll get into it, it's not all guns, and it was just gory as deaths and boobs like a true 80s film, and
Yep.
that was really cool. And then Pearl was like, "Oh, it's a sequel. Oh shit, there's the farm again with everything built up around it because obviously it takes way back in the day." And that was cool. And then this one was just like, now we have the open world of Los Angeles. Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker, serial killer, is rolling around, and it seemed like a lot more going on, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was a
And
real serial killer, right?
yeah, yeah, the Night Stalker is real as fuck, and
Yeah.
funny enough, my girlfriend's dad used to fucking scare her apparently whenever she was being bad that the Night
Hmm.
Stalker was gonna come in and get her. So she has like a giant fear of him. So like
Wow.
anytime like he was mentioned on screen, she'd kind of look at me and I go, "It's fine, they caught him. Like it's just a movie." And really, the Night Stalker's thing, which is what I wanted to tell her, but obviously I'm not gonna talk all throughout the movie, was a cool tie because of the Satanic Panic, and that Richard Ramirez technically had nothing to do with the Satanic Panic. He used that as an excuse to do what he did and said that he was the devil and all that. And it was like, no, dude, you're just a fucking creep, weirdo piece of shit. And you're blaming it on that. And like his thing was, he was getting people that were like, that left their doors unlocked. That was the biggest thing. If your door was unlocked, he would come in your house and kill you. And people
Yeah.
didn't realize that until I think by like maybe like the sixth body, they were like, "Oh shit,
We
like
should
you
just
gotta
start
lock
locking our
your
doors.
door." Yeah, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
really all it took to keep this fucking guy out. So that was another thing I was telling my girlfriend the whole time. I don't know. I keep swapping back and forth and calling my girlfriend a Maddie, but that's what I was telling her. I was like, just lock your fucking door. And I go, I'm over there half the time anyways, and I will not go to bed. Like I will get out of bed if I even think I didn't lock the deadbolt and just lock the handle. Like I'm locking every door. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the Night Stalker a little bit, um, because, and obviously not to jump to the end or anything, but like,
Hmm.
the people I went with were a little confused. They're like, "So wait, her dad was like the Night Stalker," and I go, "No, that is a separate thing. Like they show the Night Stalker getting caught; it's a different guy." I go,
Yeah.
"That was just a real thing back in the time." And he was trying to frame kills like they were the Night Stalker, but they're two completely different people. So they're like, "Oh, okay." So there was some confusion there. I wonder if any other people are confused about
Yeah.
that. I
I
kind of
don't.
understood it, but I
I
don't
was gonna
know.
say, how would you not understand? Well, I guess I mean it's different. Like you have basic understanding of serial killers, like the big names, you know. And I'm not gonna say
Yeah,
I have more than that, but like I have gone as far as listening to podcasts about all these motherfuckers. So it's
yeah,
like the Night Stalker was Richard Ramirez, and everyone knew that. So like it's for people to think like, oh, he was a Night Stalker. Like, no, that's not how that works. Her dad isn't Richard Ramirez. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, they still use the real guy. They even said his name at the end, and that's cool too.
yeah.
They included the story. Like the people, I forget how they caught him. I'm gonna have to re-listen to the podcast that I love that went over it. But the people that caught him, they like realized that it was the Night Stalker, and like a
Hmm.
mob of people just beat the shit out of this guy until the police came. Like
Yeah,
they just absolutely fucked him up. It was like one of those things where the city just came together and stopped this fucking guy. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he used the rolling blackouts to his advantage because I think
mm,
California at the time was going through a giant heat wave. Again, it's the 80s, so like they don't have the shit that we have now. Which actually, I think they still might do that in case of like emergencies if there's like a storm. But it's
Yeah.
like the rolling blackout where like certain blocks wouldn't have power for like I forget the breakdown, but I think it would be like 30 minutes at a time, and then it would come back
Mm,
on and it would go. So like I think he used that to his advantage, and that was like a big thing.
yeah. Well, it kind of gave me, when I was watching it, a little bit of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood vibes, because it's old Hollywood and there's a serial killer involved in the
Yep,
story,
I
or
was thinking the
mentioned
same
at
thing.
least.
And you
Yeah,
know what
so
I
that's
was
what I
thinking?
got from watching it.
I was thinking about when fucking Kevin Bacon in this movie loved it.
Loved him.
But when Kevin Bacon was chasing her through the fucking movie studio, all I could think of was L.A. Noir.
Yeah,
Even though L.A.
yeah.
Noir was like the 40s, but like that was the vibe I was getting.
The chase scene, yeah. Yeah, so this cast, just to talk about it, Kevin Bacon, Juan Carlo Esposito, who we're currently singing like The Boys, and we love him.
God, dude, I forgot that he was in this. I was so happy to see him.
Yeah, Elizabeth Debicki. It was a great cast. Halsey was in it. I thought she did pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, they kind of, I feel like, spent a lot of money on the cast. But then you remember that X has like Jenna Ortega and Kid Cudi and stuff. It's like, well, I guess they've always kind of done something similar to that,
Right,
outside of maybe Pearl.
but also Kid Cudi was I mean, I don't know how much any of these guys were paid, but like that was like when he
Right.
still really wanted to get into acting, and like this
Yeah.
wasn't like I'm not gonna call it his breakout role because everyone knows who the fuck he is. Like everyone's heard
Mhm.
day and night. But that was one where he was just stoked to be a part of a project, which is why I love him as an artist because like when he wants to do something, he gets so excited about it. Like he still talks about the fucking what was it, the Knuckles show or the Sonic movie? Like he had a song on
Yeah.
there, and like he'll still talk about that. Like that's just he's just like that. So like I
Yeah.
could see him doing it for cheap, and Jenna Ortega at the same time. Like if you see a name like Kid Cudi on it, like you're gonna be like, yeah, let's just do it. Especially if she truly wanted to. I don't even know if that's something she wanted to do, but it happened. Her becoming the scream queen that she is now. You know,
Yeah.
like this was a great step for her to go in that direction if that's something she wanted to accomplish.
Yeah. Well, and here's what I'll say too. And this is one of my, cons on this movie, I guess. Um, I feel like comparing this to X, like Jen Ortega or Kid Cudi's characters, for example, they felt like they had a little bit more of a story going for themselves, a little bit more of a background as a character, rather than this movie's side characters. Like Kevin Bacon, you figure out he's a PI, but then like you really don't know what too much of his motives are.
Mm,
I liked when he claimed he was an atheist and was praying to God before he died.
yeah,
That was
that's
funny.
funny.
But like, yeah, you don't really know about any of these characters because you're just pretty much following Maxine, which is fine, I guess. But it's just like when you compare it to X, I like that a lot from X compared to this.
Yeah, I agree. Cause well, all right. So I guess anyone that's seen or listening to this has probably seen the movie. But like, should we break it down how it starts?
Yeah.
Like the jump. All right, so like we pick up from Maxine, and we're what 12 years in the future now. She
Yep.
got away from the farm, and
She's in her early 30s.
yeah, she's in her early 30s. She's a adult film artist, is what they keep calling her,
Yeah.
and she makes it like in a role for like one of the best movies or one of the best horror movies that was directed by a female at the time, and she gets selected to be in that. And from there, you kind of just get thrown into her life, and again there's not really like there is side characters but they don't matter. Like this movie is truly all about Maxine, and it's
Yeah.
like the movie I'm trying to even think where Kevin Bacon first gets involved. Well, she's at her house, and then her friend's staying over, the dude that runs the video store that's like right downstairs, so he's staying over, and there's a knock at the door, and she gets it, and it's just like a well, it was a VCR tape. So she gets
Yeah.
this VHS tape, and it's like her sex video from the farm.
Mhm.
And you're like, oh shit, like who would even have that? And like you think about it, it's
Yeah.
like, well, it's not Pearl and it's not her fucking husband. We know that. So like, who is it? And we watched everyone else die. So like, you're hooked
Yeah.
a little bit, you know? And plus, like, prior to that, had they shown the dude with the gloves yet? They did, right? Because they show her go
Yes.
from so they show her go from the audition to her second job, which is Dream Girls or some shit like that. And it's like a
Mhm.
peep show basically, and it's just her dancing, and this dude with a pair of gloves that just showed the leathered gloves is sitting there and like breaks off the fucking like windowsill thing that's right there, and he just breaks it off because he's so mad. And the whole time they at this point this Night Stalker has been mentioned, so you know that that's going on. Like that's the thing happening on the Times. Really setting the tone for what's going on in LA at the time. And then you get to where Maxine's at her house, gets the VHS tape, and now it kind of starts. And it's not a whodunit, I guess. Would it be considered a whodunit? Because it's like a whodunit.
See, like it did feel like a mystery too. Yeah, I would say it almost like it is a whodunit because they're not showing the person's face with the gloves on, and you're maybe supposed to assume it is the Night Stalker, but I never did.
Right.
But maybe like a casual might.
And that's where also you get introduced to Kevin Bacon. Like right after she watches the video, she freaks out. Her friend goes home, which again, fucking dumb Night Stalkers running around. I would want my friend to stay the night at my house, especially when someone just delivered a video from a farm where everyone that I knew and loved fucking died.
Yeah, everyone in the video is dead besides me.
What do I know, though?
Yeah.
But then that's when you get introduced to Kevin Bacon. And again, you don't know who Kevin Bacon's talking to. And he goes, if you're willing to go all the way, I'm going to need more pay. Because he's just got that dumbass accent the whole time. And yeah, so then from there, that like embarks on the mystery.
Yeah. And to who hired him. And they're having dinner up in this like penthouse looking building in California. And yeah, so he gives her an address to where she can go meet his employer who's behind all this.
Now, and the thing we did leave out, though, is that not only did she go to Dreamgirls, but she also went to where she shoots her adult films. So she worked both jobs. And a girl from the adult film place said, hey, I'm going to this party up in the hills. You should come. And she's like, no. And then a girl from the Dreamgirls place was just like, hey, I'm going to this crazy party. And you kind of assume it's the same place, but you don't know.
She's like, you gotta take a gondola up there.
Yeah. And you're like, all right, that sounds kind of inconvenient because what if you really have to shit and you got to ride this gondola up there? Whatever. So they both mention this place in the hills, and Maxine's like, no, I'm good because she's a grinding woman. She just got this part. She wants to she just wants to grind, and it's like I respect that. So she doesn't go out. And then the next day it cuts, and that's when you're introduced. What's the fucking guy's name? Is a dude from The Watcher.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I don't see him on IMDb.
He's in so much random shit. You just see him and you go, oh, shit, it's the guy. Like, he's in the other guys.
Bobby Convella?
Yeah, him.
Plays Detective Torres.
Yeah, so
who used to be an actor.
That was funny. So Detective Torres and his little partner end up going to...
And Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah, they go to the crime scene where it happens, and what they did a good job, like the one little comment I did like was like the police officer was sitting there, and it was like, must have been the Night Stalker, huh? And like she goes, yeah, you wish it was. And to that extent, it puts you in the mindset of like, what does she mean by that? And it almost feels like, as fucked up as it is, people... like not, I don't want to say get off, but like they do like when like a killer has that amount of bodies. Like someone that's like too into it will like know the amount of bodies that a serial killer has. And like the only reason I know the Night Stalker has 13, like when I pulled up my phone a couple seconds ago, I just looked that up. But like it's almost like, wow, he's like the baddest serial killer of them all. But on top of that though, it makes their life a lot easier than thinking that, oh fuck, there's another serial killer running around, which happens time and time again. Like Jeffrey Dahmer, like there's bodies of his that aren't his because they were like, oh, it must have been him, and they were just throwing it like that. Like same thing with like Ridgway and fucking what the fuck's the clown, John Wayne Gacy. But John Wayne Gacy is a different breed because they think there's actually more that were his that they didn't find solely because he didn't bury them underneath his house. But like just that little comment, I was like, all right, I'm still in this. Like
copycat killers.
Exactly. It's shit like that. And so like, yeah, so now you have this idea like, oh, is it the Night Stalker that's coming after Maxine? Too big of a cop out. Or is it another serial killer that no one really wants to think about happening, but that's what it is. And so...
Dude, that alleyway scene, too.
Oh, my God, I forgot about that. Mention that. Talk about that, because that was fucking wild, dude.
Yeah, so she leaves Halsey's character and decides to walk home alone, even though there's a serial killer out and about. And
well, she did...
It
showed her pack her gun. Before she went to work, she did pack her gun, so we knew that she had it.
Yeah, and obviously, like, we've seen her kill an ex, so it's like, we know not to fuck with her, right? So, but not other people. They just see this damsel in distress or whatever. but yeah, so she takes this alleyway shortcut and gets stopped because the fence is locked, leading out to the street, this main street, and there's a guy that's been following her and pulls a knife. Now the guy doesn't have like the gloves on, like we know it's not that person following her, or we can assume. But yeah, he starts walking at her with a knife, and she kind of waits like till last second to pull the gun out on him. And I remember him saying like, "I was gonna do anything to you."
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. He goes, "I was just playing around." He goes, "What type of fucking joke is that, buddy?"
Yeah, and then she makes him take his clothes off, get on the ground, and then she takes the heel of her shoe and stomps his balls off. Which I felt that. I
did too. I looked away.
I was like,
Mandy was laughing at me.
But it was badass.
Yeah. No, Mandy was laughing at me, and I go, "You're not gonna be laughing when Night Stalker gets mentioned again."
Yeah.
But no, that was
that
was a hell of a scene. And again, it does bring you back in, like you said. We've seen this girl kill. We know what she's capable of, and her crushing someone's balls is like not even the worst thing that we've seen from this trilogy. So it was like, all right, actually, maybe it was. I mean, like we saw some fucked up kills in the previous two, but this one was kind of that like just crushing his balls was wild.
But he might not have even died.
No, he definitely didn't die. He just can't have kids.
Yeah. No, but that scene was great, so I wanted to mention that. But yeah, and then so she goes to the studio to start. I think she's just watching the Lily Collins, who plays Molly in the movie, who was in funny enough, who was in the first horror movie, but they brought her character back. So anyway, Maxine's there just to kind of watch and see how they do it behind the scenes. They're not recording her stuff yet, so she's just kind of going there to see. And right away I go, is that Lily Collins? Big Lily Collins fan.
Where's she from? She looked
Paris.
Fucking Emily in Paris.
She's Phil Collins' daughter.
Ah.
Yeah. She was in that Zac Efron Ted Bundy movie too.
Oh, was she really?
I'm trying to think of things that you've seen that she's in. Yeah. So she was in that. But yeah, I know of her. She was in I'm trying to think what else that she's been in that you've seen, like show wise. She's been in some TV shows too. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, anyways, so she goes there to watch that, and then that's where Kevin Bacon ends up showing up to kind of, because at this point she's missed the appointment to go see this person that's been or trying to blackmail her or find her. Yeah, basically. Yeah. But that chase scene was great. I know you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, no, it's fun. And then again, he's just such a smooth talker. He like talks to the security guard, and then obviously later we see him getting thrown out. But that's kind of
she fucks up his face with the keys too.
Oh my gosh, she whooped the fuck out of him, dude. And you go, now I'm taking it personal.
Yeah.
Like, all right, man, you're harassing this girl, recording her. Like, that's weird as fuck.
Yeah. She has to speak with the police because her friends all around her are getting murdered.
Yeah, so like that was a really big thing. So these two girls get murdered, and then Detective Ramirez and what's the chick's name?
I can pull that back up. 1 second here. Detective Williams.
Detective Williams. So they're outside of there, and Detective Ramirez like fucks it up by being an absolute cocksucker of a police officer, not being nice, and is basically like they're asking like if she had heard from the two girls, because both of them, like I said, were talking to her on her way out of work about this party. So like somehow, some way, they pinned it to her, which again they don't really explain. Like, did someone at the job say, like, oh, I saw them talking before they left? Like, I don't know how that worked out. But one way or another, she is obviously afraid to talk to the police.
She's worked with both of them before, maybe.
Right, but they know that she was the last person that they talked to. So it's like, where the fuck did they get that info from? But again, Maxine's already freaked out because she left that farm without saying anything. It's been all these years later. It hasn't been brought back, which obviously it makes sense because the internet's not a thing. Which I have a gripe about that. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
But like, so the cops come and she's afraid about that, but they bring up these two girls. She goes, why did something happen? And there's like a look of concern. And then Detective Ramirez is being an absolute cocksucker. Like, he plays himself like he did in the other guys almost, like trying to be all macho. And so that
Yeah.
fucks everything up. Maxine goes, I don't talk to cops, and leaves. And then that following night is where we see the dude that runs the video store get fucking murdered and just stabbed. And you're watching him get stabbed. I think we watch him get stabbed like 4 times
Yeah, because he
after he
like slices
slices
the
the
back
neck
of his neck.
and then
Yeah.
stabs him. And then when he's on the ground, we see him stab him in the back like 2 or 3 times. And that
Through
was,
the cast too at one
yeah,
point.
dude, and that was pretty tight. That was pretty tight. I
Yeah.
won't lie, that felt very realistic. And I was like, fuck yeah, we're back.
Yeah.
But then the next morning, she gets the phone call, and it's from her agent. Right? It was her agent because
Yep.
she went to him at this point, right, about everything that had happened. And again,
Yeah.
I don't.
So he's trying to help her.
Yeah, and I don't know if she discloses the farm. I assume that she does.
I think she told him everything.
Right, because it wouldn't make sense to just like, hey, these people are after me. Like, you need to tell them what the fuck's going on. So that happened. So then the agent calls.
And do you think if you haven't seen X, you'd be lost as to what's going on? Because they really don't show enough on the tape. It kind of almost looks like they're blackmailing her for a porno she did, and that's it.
100%. I was thinking the same thing, and that's why it felt weird.
It shows flashbacks for her though,
Right.
seeing like an old woman, but like you don't really know.
And that's why Mandy said that one of her favorite parts was the flashbacks, and I had even said, I was like, well, yeah, because it's the only fucking thing that links it. If you haven't seen the movie, I go, if you hadn't seen the movie, you don't know any of this shit's connected. Like you said, it's just an old lady standing in a window. Like, there's not shit to it. And like, you're right. If you saw that, if you saw Maxine without seeing, fuck, you could have watched Pearl and missed X, and you still wouldn't know what the fuck's going on. You would just be like, why is that old lady from Pearl standing in the window? Which would be really weird if you watched Pearl. Actually, she wasn't even old, so you wouldn't even know. If you missed X, you wouldn't understand that shit, but it wouldn't matter. Like, none of it truly matters until the end. And even at the end, they kind of like did it so like this could be like a one-off. If you really wanted it to be, it could be. And I forgot where I was going with that. I completely forgot where I was going with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, because like they don't really show any fight. Most sequels to movies usually try to kind of catch you up as to what's been happening for the character, maybe what happened kind of in the last movie that is happening in this movie that, you know, it has influence on it. So like the tape could have been like maybe showing some of the dead bodies too, and then
something like that. Like if you could have seen Pearl's
dead
body, because we
like show like 10 more seconds, right? Yeah,
okay,
something just so people would know.
Talking to her agent and shit. Yeah, okay. So sorry, I got a whirlwind there because it kind of upset me. Again, not upset me, like it's not like it pissed me off, but definitely this is the weakest link in the series. But still fun. I had fun with this movie. But so the guy gets murdered, and then she goes downstairs because she hears all this commotion. She hears all the cops pulling up, and she sees her at the video store. So she's like, "Oh fuck! Like I'll be right back. I'll call you back in a second." Runs downstairs, and this dickhead, Detective Williams, sees Maxine looking. It just fucking pulls the blanket over and shows her friend's fucking body all covered
in front of everyone.
Who the fuck does that? The whole crowd's going. Now Maxine's freaking out, and so somehow, some way, they get her to go back to the station. Not even the station. She's at the coroner's office with all 3 of the bodies, and they have this girl in there, and they got a really good Coke ad. A really good new Coca-Cola ad. That was funny.
New Coca-Cola.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. I was like, all right, good product placement, I guess. Like, she doesn't even drink it. She fucking sets it down and walks out. And so while they're talking to her, and again, Detective Williams is a girl, so she's better at talking to Maxine about it. And Detective Ramirez is fucking doing whatever fucking bullshit he does. And again, he does make a good point. And he says something like, man, if all my friends were dying around me, I'd be a little scared. And he goes, I don't understand why you aren't telling us what you know, because clearly you're the common denominator. Like, you are the common denominator in all of this. Like, you know something is amok and you're not saying anything. Like, what the hell? And to that extent, I'm on their side. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. And at the same time, though, I was thinking about it, going back to X, if she admitted to, like, being there and saying what happened, like, I don't think she'd get in trouble at all. I think they'd put her in witness protection program, and she'd have a way more badass story already, which, again, we see works in her favor later. But, like, it's not like they just willy-nilly fucking killed Pearl and her husband. Like, no, Pearl and her husband started it by fucking killing what's-his-name first.
Yeah, you know what? I thought of it like it's been 12 years, so at this point, if she came out and said it, it looked pretty bad. it would have had to be something that she did like right after when it happened. You know what I mean? And then too, I think she was worried at the time like it could fuck up her career, maybe.
Yeah, it could. Again, it is a weird mark to have, like that you survived
Yeah.
all of that. But also, if she wanted to go into the horror genre, which again I don't think she did necessarily, she just wanted to be a star.
Yeah.
Then it would have worked out in her favor. A part of me feels like knowing that, like, I mean, terrible example, but still an example. Like the baby being a rapper and actually killing someone in the Walmart and rapping about that, like it worked in his favor.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point.
But yeah, so then from there, she's just like, I gotta go home and learn my lines. But then that's when she ends up.
Does a lot of coke too.
Yeah, it does a lot of good. Dude, when they opened up the cookie jar and it was just filled with cocaine, and I like thought about it, and I go, it was the '80s. Like that is very realistic, especially because it was when she was at the porn studio.
Yeah. Yeah, she does it a bunch of times. She does it at her house too, and
yeah, no, she's just a full blown addict. I mean, I think they were ripping blow in X, weren't they?
Were they? I thought they were just smoking.
Part of me feels weed. Like they were. Well, yeah, it's because Kid Cudi was in the movie.
Yeah. There's a lot of weed, I remember that, but...
Yeah. But I guess she grew up, and this happens.
It's a gateway drug.
It's a gateway drug. This drug that mellows you out and makes you eat a whole pizza. Obviously, you did wanting to do cocaine. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, it scared me more than Dare does.
Something happened to me.
Yeah. I like the conversation though that she had with the detective on the way out, because she's like, you could save the next girl, and then she says, "Well, I did, and it's me, and I would save myself."
Mm-hmm. Which like, again, crazy implication. Crazy implication.
Yeah. That is a crazy line to drop and then walk away, because she's like, "Wait, what?"
It's like implies that something happened and she killed somebody. Is all right. that shit says.
Or that she knows who the killer is.
Uh-huh. Right.
And she avoided the killer.
Oh man. Yeah. No, it was a crazy runaround. But I'm trying to think where the movie progresses from there. Oh, well, she ends up back at the movie studio talking to what's her name? The director. And she's just like, this is it. She goes and she gives that good belly of the beast speech, which is essentially like, you're in the belly of the beast. She goes, take a look around, like you're in the belly. Like, do not fuck this up, because if you fuck up again, I'm kicking you out of my movie. And then she goes, which means the beast will spit you out, and it more than likely won't have like the same appetite for you again. Like if you do not nail this. And crazy. I love that line a lot. But she tells the director lady, she's just like, hey, I'm going to get it all figured out tonight. And this is where the movie kind of pissed me off, because like it had to be filmed like this, but it just started going so fucking rapid, because she has that conversation and I looked at my phone and there was 20 minutes left in this fucking movie, and it just went like that, and it didn't feel as good as X did, because X hit the fan just like that, but everything was done so tastefully. And then granted, again, X takes place over the span of 2 nights. This is like a week, but like the whole ending was like in the span of 1 night again. But it didn't feel good, like it felt very rushed. And I even told Mandy, I was like, it kind of feels like they were running out of money and they needed to fucking like speed this shit up and get it over
finish
with.
The movie.
Yeah, that's exactly
I think
what it felt like.
A lot of gripes I was seeing with people online was the third act, was the ending and the way that stuff came out. So yeah, I completely understand. Before that, like she talks to Molly, who says she's going to a party.
Yep.
And so Maya Goth first wants to take out this PI that's bothering her. Maxine wants to take him out. So she comes up with a plan where they're at a nightclub and she's dancing. The PI sees her and she runs into the bathroom to hide. And then they basically just trap him outside.
Yep. Which is fucking, dude, that
out.
was such a good use. I love the strobe light shit. And you just see her moving, and then the PI gets caught up by 2 guys because he bumps into them, and they're like pushing him back. And
dude, I was kind of worried. I'm like, because there's a lot of strobe lights for like what felt like a couple minutes. I'm like, am I gonna get a fucking stroke or something?
That's what Mandy said. She goes, my head started hurting, and I was like, I was
starting to like look up a little bit. I'm like, whoa, because it was hitting me like right before they run into the bathroom and it stops. But I was just like, damn, this is a lot. But yeah, it was a really really cool scene the way they got him, and then they bring him to
Like a
junkyard,
scrapyard,
and
yeah.
scrapyard, and they have him locked up in his car,
Handcuffed to
and
the steering wheel.
yeah, dude, like, so I thought, because she starts the crusher and it's coming down, he's freaking out. I thought she was gonna stop it, like, interrogate him
Any
a little bit.
logical person would be like, oh, this guy is willing to give me information. Let me get that information from you. That could have saved so much time and
Yeah,
effort, and people wouldn't have died the way that they did.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess I was gonna say, I guess you could have just shot him in the head,
Yeah.
but like, I guess you're taking him out of his misery, maybe.
Yeah, this is way
I guess it was a
scarier
little bit of
because you
torture.
have the panic of this thing crushing you, and then
Crushing you.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming there's like a couple seconds where you're not fully into the seat, like with your head, so like you're still
Yeah.
getting crushed and you're alive. Because I thought they were gonna stop it to where it'd be like a little below the window and he'd still be alive in there, but no, they just
Yeah.
completely squashed him. And then her
Yeah, because I'm like, he's definitely dying, but I thought they'd interrogate him a little bit. I don't know.
no, it doesn't. Ah, man, whatever. Also, Mafia 2.
But I guess that would ruin the big surprise of who it is.
Yeah, it would.
I don't know.
It just, again, you go back and forth on it, and this is like, I'm not saying I could do a better job, but at the same time, it's like, what the fuck, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, her agent is just like, all right, beat it, toots. Like, we're gonna take care of it from here. The fucking Dobermans go over, start eating the guts.
Oh, that was so gross.
Yeah, that was gross.
Andrew's next to me. He just goes, ugh. And then the woman in front of us goes, what the hell?
Yeah, dude. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, that was gross. But yeah, so then she decides to go to this house party to finally put an end to this.
Yeah, okay, so it's
the
not
man
a
behind
house
the tape.
party. It's not a house party. First off, Kevin Bacon gave
Yeah.
her the envelope and was just like, "Hey, the guy that's having like paying me wants to see you. Like, go here."
Yeah.
And so she finally, she's had this for like 2 days now. And again, so now that the PI is dead, like the PI even says like, "Hey, it's not ending with me. Like the guy that paid me is a man of power. Like he will make this shit happen with or without me." And that's why I was happy to see him die. But again, maybe we could have got a little more information. Like, hey, bring your gun. Bring a couple guns.
Yeah. What am I walking into?
Yeah, so then Maxine, on some dumbass bullshit woman shit, decides I'm going to do this on my own. Doesn't tell her agent where she's going. Thankfully, she's too fucking dumb to look behind her when she's getting in her car. Like, do you look around? I look around even in broad daylight of my surroundings, who's where. Like, I feel like I could peg a car following me like within 2 minutes. Like within 2 minutes of someone
Especially
hits,
up on the hills, like at that late at night, no one's really driving around.
someone hits 2 turns as me, I'm in my like looking in the rear view like, who is this? Do I know them? Are they fucking with me? Did I accidentally cut them off? Are they mad at me? Like, we're gonna figure this out. No, she walks to her car, doesn't notice Detective Williams and Ramirez just sitting right there. She takes off. They follow her all the way up into the hills, and
it was a car she looked at earlier in the movie when she's in her apartment.
We've seen it.
Yeah, so why show that? I don't know. But yeah, I am happy they turned their headlights off right before they started going up the hill.
That was nice. That was nice. Good touch.
It was a good, yeah, because I was like, it was pissing me off too, Brian. I'm like, how did she not notice?
but so Maxine finally,
her going up the gondola was cool, a cool shot, like cinematography.
It
style.
was.
Like, it looked cool.
But again, all I could think of while she was doing that was like, dude, imagine you have like all these fucking groceries and now you have to wait for this gondola to go. I go, there's got to be a more practical way to get up there. Or what if the gondola stops working and it's the middle of the night like that? Or what if you have to take a shit and now you're stuck on this fucking gondola? Like, what do you do? What do you do?
How long are you on it for? Is it a few minutes?
And it was slow. It was slow as hell.
Yeah.
But
huge house, though.
Huge house, and you see the door because again they were technically filming them killing the other 2 girls that had worked with her, and honestly, I thought it was like some fucked up porn stuff when they were showing the camera, and I was like, oh, it actually is going to be a party. These guys are just absolute sickos, but no, they ended up
or
dying.
Sex traffic or something.
Yeah, they ended up dying, getting branded with the fucking like pentagram, which is like the sign of the devil, and is what it is. But no, you see the green doors that are in the tapes from these, which again aren't released to the public. I don't believe that's just for the viewers to see. Like, I don't think the police have even seen it. But so whatever. She gets up there and she's got her gun, big door creaking, and she finally gets in. Which again, I'm like, I always think about this. Like, I almost feel like I'm going in guns a-blazing. I'm not getting the jump on anyone. I'm showing up, and if I have a gun and I know someone's trying to kill me, like, I'm shooting anyone I see. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's just me. I'm going in there, SEAL Team 6 with my little pistol, just like, bah! Anyone that moves, like, that's it. But at the same
Right.
time, though, I mean, I guess she didn't want them to get the jump on her because she walks up all these fucking staircases, and it's a windy staircase. So she gets to the top, and it starts, and it's a fucking video of her as a child, which was the intro to the movie. And it's where she hits the infamous line of the "I will not live a life in which I do not deserve."
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's way more country because they had those country accents. Um,
Yeah.
and again, you can hear her talking to her dad, and her dad's like, "Say it slower." And then she's just like, "I will not live a life I do not, in which I do not deserve." And so she sees that, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And then the man with the gloves gets her,
Yeah.
and he disarms her right away. And like again, you don't really know who it is yet, and the camera pans up, and I am not afraid to admit it, Josh. It took me until I was walking out where I was like, man, her dad kind of looked like the guy that was like doing all the rapture stuff in the beginning of X. And she goes, that was the whole point of it. Like, that's who her dad is. And I was like, I did
Yeah.
not put that together. I did not put together
Oh,
that. And
really?
then I go, but that makes sense how her dad could afford this and all the other people, all the followers he
Yeah.
has. And I go, that makes
Yeah.
more sense because he's using the money of the church to be a fucking asshole. Very
Right.
on brand.
Yes. Yeah. So, Brian, I was going to ask you if you were shocked that it was him because I had a feeling.
No, again, I had a feeling that it was someone related to her, someone that wanted her home because that's the only people that would know her. There was no
They're
tie-in,
killing her
and yeah,
friends.
exactly.
We haven't seen any characters
If
that
we
this guy would
wanted to
be.
make sense, then it would totally be that. Now, if I was not so fucking stupid, I would have instantly, like, if I would have known that was her dad at the beginning of X on the fucking TV
Mm-hmm.
screen doing all the preaching shit about the devil and how it's taking over the youth, I would have been like, oh, it's gonna be your dad. Like, I called that
Mm-hmm.
shit, and then I didn't know what was going on, and I go, wow, her dad looks a lot like the fucking guy from the video. And he was like, that's the point, it is him, and I go, oh. So
Mm-hmm.
joke's on me. But dude, when he disarms her, the scariest thing that guy did was when he just did the fucking like Aleister Crowley, like the that shit
Yeah.
freaked me out.
Very animated guy.
Very animated, dude. That
Mm-hmm.
shit, I don't know. It just, oh, it is what it is. But so we go from there, and this is where he's basically talking about like, oh, I'm like making my own movie, like I'm trying to get people to go along with this and like show how I can get the devil out of them and how Hollywood has ruined them and yada yada yada. It's just that old jargon that people use like because they were scared of change per se.
Yeah.
Like they're no longer the fucking good Catholic families and stuff like that or the Baptist families, whatever. Like really it's
Mm-hmm.
just like the Southern people that were like that.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone up north was becoming more and more modern and like willing to do stuff, and like especially like on the West Coast where Hollywood's actually at, they're willing to like
Mm-hmm.
grow and change. But no, people are so stuck to their ways, they end up killing a ton of people just to get their daughter back. So
Yeah.
he fucking dumb as hell again. I mean, I guess in the heat of the moment, you don't know what to do with your hands. But if someone, any small guys listeners out here, I hope this never happens to you. But if this happens to you, if somebody ever, fucking ever, puts a plastic bag over your head, and if it's a knit one, you're a little more fucked. You could probably still rip it. But a plastic bag, go for the mouth. Everyone makes the mistake of going for the neck because they want to loosen it. No, you can pop the mouth. It's plastic. You've never taken a fucking Ziploc bag and twisted it until it
She had some
pops.
long nails too, dude.
Yes, dude, she could have easily
Yeah.
just like fucking ripped that open and you could breathe
Yeah.
again. And I don't know, maybe you can't fight back right away because obviously he's got you in a headlock, but you could breathe again. You could fake knockout. I don't know, do something, but fucking go for the mouth. Always go for your
And two,
mouth.
I feel like you're risking killing her too. She can't breathe.
Yes.
I don't know.
I thought the same thing. I was like, is he trying to kill her? Like, what are we doing here?
Like he didn't have a syringe or anything that could have. I don't know.
Nope. But yeah, so he does that to her, which I'm like, all right, fuck. But also, before that happened, he pushes over the suitcase, and it's the Scream Queen from the previous movie, and
Yeah.
she fucking, it's just her head just sitting there, and it's got the tongue out, and it's funny because it's just like the head model that we had seen her getting with
Yeah.
the makeup lady
At the end of the first movie.
Yeah. So that was funny. But yeah, so then it cuts, and now she's tied up to a palm tree, and her dad's in front of her, and they're fucking
The Colt around.
yeah, with the Colt around. That was funny. All I could think of was the GTA people, the GTA
Yeah.
Colt. Yeah, that's all I could think
Mhm.
of.
They're doing an exorcism on her.
Yeah, and here's another dumbass part. The dad's like, "Here's your big role. Go along with it." All she had to do was pretend to get an exorcism. You sit there and make
Right.
those noises, and you fucking play buddy buddy because it is her dad, and there's always that relationship with the girl. Like, even if a girl says that she hates her dad, it's like she hates her dad because they didn't have the daddy daughter relationship. Like, there's always that dynamic, and
Yeah.
she could have just buttered him up a little bit. This is all she had to do. And then you think about it, though, he said the other girls wouldn't do it. And it's like the other girls weren't willing to fake an exorcism to save their life. Like, the other girls
Right.
were like screaming and crying. Maxine's not even screaming and crying. She's just sitting there like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
So that.
Yeah, dude. And then the cops finally show up too. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, it took you guys that
Thank
long.
God they were there.
Yeah.
Which also, there's like no one was alerted that like someone just took a fucking 10-minute gondola ride up to the top. No one was alerted
No
that
security.
the gondola was brought back all the way to the ground and then brought all the way back up. And you're like, what
Right.
the fuck?
Yeah. No security. Nothing. And then like a big shootout ends up happening.
You hear a Wilhelm
like-
scream? I'm like, what the fuck
Yes.
is that?
Yes, yeah, everyone's getting shot at. Maxine's able to get out of it because she has that pocket knife on her.
Yeah, which also
She falls in the water, stabs someone.
Dude, I thought she was gonna pull a Miles Morales that whole time, where the whole thing was like, you gotta watch the hands, and in the
Yeah.
way she did with the knife.
Yeah, yeah. So that scene. I mean, the shooting part was pretty cool, but
Again, but I felt like it took away from what we got in X. Like that bloodbath we got in X. Like technically, we saw more bodies from the shootout, but the shootout was just so dumb. They were all just shooting each other. Like, what the fuck?
yeah. Well, and then let me ask you this: so when they start running up the hill because their dad starts running away, and you see both detectives get pretty injured, one dies, but like you don't get to see any of it happen. She just kind of runs up on it.
Yeah, you just hear
on both things
you hear
happening.
the shooting, and then that's another thing too. Detective Ramirez is supposed to be a dickhead throughout the whole movie, and he got a better ending than her friend from the video store that was willing to help her and like be with her and like
Right.
not try to fuck her, because that was a really funny joke. He's like, "Oh, I love you the most because you love me because I'm the only guy in the city not trying to fuck you." And I was like, "That's a good
Yeah.
friend. That's a good friend."
Yeah.
But no, you don't even get anything satisfactory from him. Instead, you get Detective Ramirez like, "Oh, my time in this city. This is my first time making it up to the Hollywood sign." And it's like, no one cares about you, dude. You've been an asshole the whole time. You really didn't do shit. I mean, I guess, again, we don't even know if Maxine was going to die there. But all he did was stop it before they even secured, like, Maxine the hostage. They just start shooting around her. You see the bullets hitting the trees and shit. But yeah, so
Yeah,
then,
she almost died.
yeah, numerous times. But yeah, so then the dad takes off to the hills, and the cops go after her, and Maxine takes the most terrible route. She's crawling on all fours trying to get up this fucking thing. Here's a gunshot, and that's where the whole Detective Ramirez thing happens. And Detective fucking what is it, Walker? What is it?
Williams.
Williams. Detective Williams is like, apply pressure to it, and I'm like, no. Like, no, if that's, I'm going after my dad to be like, yo, what the fuck did you just do? And so anyways, he bleeds out, so she leaves anyways. And then poor Detective Williams, she goes, I got him. Got him. I told you I'd get that son of a bitch. And you look, and there's a cross in her eye, and then she loses her balance, and I wish we could have seen it. That would have been funny. How far she rolled down that fucking hill. Like, we still don't know, but I assume
she died, right?
I assume that she died because she was already stabbed in the eye, and then any hit closer, you're going to the brain. So like if she was tumbling like that in her face, she like managed to hit like that, yeah, it pushed into her brain and she's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so she finds her dad laying there on the ground, and she has a shotgun on her.
Mhm.
And now this part is weird too, because the helicopter shows up,
Yeah,
and is telling her, drop your weapon,
Mhm.
put your hands up in the air. It looks like a massacre. They don't know what side she's on.
Yep.
They probably know about one or two of the cops being dead that
Mhm.
they called in the backup, right? So there's all that. They know that there's shootings and death around her. So they don't show what happens at the end of that scene till the very end of the movie. But anyways, we know that she ends up shooting him in the face.
yeah, which was nice.
They warned her. It was cool, but dude, they warned her three
Yes,
times to
thank
drop the
you,
gun and put your
thank
hands up.
you.
So I asked them after the movie, I go, how the fuck did they not just shoot her
Yeah,
after she shot him?
She's holding
An
the
unarmed
gun.
man? Like,
Yeah.
they don't know.
Yeah, an unarmed man
You
that's portraying a priest, a very bad priest. Like, he actually is the devil. They keep saying Maxine's the devil. He's the devil. But I
Right.
said the same fucking thing, Josh. And then the best thing is, so before the head even gets fucking blown off, you see this thing happen where Maxine becomes famous and she's talking about this and that, and
She's got a star already.
She's got a star,
dude. There's like Tom Hanks got his star 6 years ago, and he's been in so many. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it takes a while to get a star. You don't get it off one movie.
But no,
ridiculous.
So I'm sitting there thinking this is all what she's imagining is going to happen if she puts down the gun. And then when she was talking to her dad, and the dad was just like, I was trying to save you. Like, I wanted to give you the life that you wanted. Like, I wanted to make you a star. I wanted you to make it like me. Because, again, as a kid in the video, I want to be just like my daddy. And so he was like, I was trying to do that for you. And then I thought when he stuck out his hand and she was like, say it with me now. And they hit the, I will not live a life in which I do not deserve. I totally thought they were going to join, and the fucking sniper from the helicopter was going to blow her brains out, and I thought the dad was going to live. I thought that's exactly what was going to happen. I thought we weren't going to get a good ending out of this. And that's exactly, I thought we were looking at a flashback of what could have been.
Yeah. I mean, still, you could technically make the argument that it's in her head.
You could, but we know that it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
that would have been a cool ending, though.
Yeah,
but I kind of like your ending more.
Thank you. Again, I wish it would have just been like absolutely everything was for nothing. Like, I almost think that would have been funnier, like a giant fuck you. And that,
or if she shoots her dad, she ends up in prison.
Yeah, it doesn't make it like the director's like, hey, I don't want to do this. But
we can't work with a porn star who's also a serial killer,
right? Is around so much death. Everyone around
like they frame, like she's framed for it or something. I don't know.
Which again wouldn't be that hard. But no, she blows off her dad's head, and then it fast forwards, like, oh, the Night Stalker's been apprehended, and then they say that they were apprehended by a group, which is again relatable to real life because a group of people did beat the shit out of Richard Ramirez until the police came, which was hype. But then obviously they said, and at the same time there was a different serial killer, and now we have Maxine, and Maxine is now famous, and I can't remember where we had the jump at, but where she was talking to the director. After they had a moment of silence for, what's your girl's name, Lily Collins?
Molly
Collins.
Her name's Molly
in the movie. Molly in the movie. They have a moment for silence for Molly, but again, the director doesn't really know how long to keep it. So one guy's like, all right, thanks everybody. That was funny. But then the director, which is proof as to how much she loved Maxine, because she could tell that Maxine had that edge and was willing to literally do anything, which also a great thing that she says at the end of the movie. But she goes, she wasn't going to be anything more than the beginning of this franchise. She was never going to do anything else. She goes, Maxine, you actually have the opportunity to do great in this movie and become a giant star. You have that in you because you've, well, you didn't say it, but implying you've killed so many fucking people to be here. You have what it takes.
Yeah, you put the work in.
Yeah, so then she gets famous. She's talking on the news, and they're talking about her story and shit. And then, they get to the red carpet, and she's all dolled up. And they're like, what do you have to say for viewers, younger viewers? And it's just fucking become a porn star, have all your friends murdered, be the only one to survive, leave, become a porn star, an actual name porn star, want to get into movies, watch all your friends get murdered again because your dad's trying to get you back home.
Two massacres.
And then, and then from there you got to blow your dad's head off, hope the LAPD doesn't kill you in the process. And then you get your name squeaky clean. From that, everyone knows it wasn't your fault. Let's just blame it all on your dad. And and then from there, you're a really good actress because all of your friends have died and you can fake cry.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. It's just plain and simple.
That's it. That's easy. I'm writing a book. Yeah, dude. And I thought the ending too, where it was a model of her face being cut off on the bed. I thought that was really cool, just credit wise, because that's how Pearl ends too, where she's looking at the camera. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, but Pearl was way better because that was all improv.
Yeah, that was her doing it, and you could see her eyes water. Mm-hmm. It was just a cool callback. I thought.
I agree, though. I do agree.
Yeah, but I don't. That ending, like we said, it just felt rushed. You know what I mean? Like
everything
it
was
sounded
wrapped
like
up
we
in the end.
rushed through just explaining it, but that's how the movie went at the end there.
Yep, because movie's only an hour 40, which again I don't mind an hour 40 movie. I think it's nice, but with how not
Yeah.
even slow, but the pacing they had was great. And then out of nowhere, again, I know they have to live up to the X standards, but X made sense because you're in one fucking place. And granted, yes, you're in one place for this, but not really because you have to kill the PI. Then you got to come, and then you have to
Right.
have to reveal that it's their dad. Then you have to see what the dad's up to, and what the dad really wanted, and then you have to see that the dad's a piece of shit, and like, oh, we're gonna fucking like kill him, and then we're gonna fucking. It's everywhere. It's fucking everywhere.
Yeah, and like you said, 20, 25 minutes left.
Oh man, oh man, what a movie, you know.
You want to get into scores?
Should I call Mandy to see if she has any words she wants to say?
Yeah.
All right. I think this would be the next best bet. Now, again, for the listeners, which would be crazy if you listen to this and not our Pearl and X videos, my girlfriend got me into these movies. She fucking loves them. She said she relates to Pearl. I'm a little scared about that, but it's no.
Did she like this more or Late Night with the Devil? Do you think?
We can ask her. Hang on, I'm gonna unplug my headset though, just so she can hear you. Hang on, try to get this to go. All right, Josh, talk.
All right. Talking.
All right, cool. Let me call her, see if she answers.
All right.
Hello?
Hey, baby.
Hi, babe.
Hey, it's your time to shine.
Oh, right now?
Yeah, you're on right now. Drink a little
Are you
water. You sound a little hoarse. Yeah. Wake up. Josh is here. Say hi to Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Hi.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear.
All right, it's through my computer.
But basically, I think that the movie was not what I was expecting, but overall it was really good, and it ended very differently than I was expecting, but it was great overall. Do you want me to give my rating too?
Yeah. Well, actually, before you give the rating, I guess the rating would tell us which one you like the most and where it would fall in the trilogy here.
I can tell you that first if you want. Pearl is my favorite out of the trilogy, and then following after that is Max. Maxine sadly took third place, but it was still great. I'm gonna rate it an 86 out of 100.
86 out of 100. Okay.
All right.
Now,
that's my rating too.
Now, after all this time, was this worth the wait? Was this worth the 2.5 year wait, or do you think we should have got this sooner? Did you think the movie was rushed? That's what we've been bitching about.
I personally think that it was not worth the wait. I feel like they had enough time to do something different. I feel like this was really rushed. So yeah.
All right, cool. I love you. Talk to you later.
All right, love you.
All right, hang on. I'm trying to plug this microphone, or not the mic, the headset. All right, hello.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, am I still going through the quadcast?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so I think she put it well there with the rankings. That's how I would rank my movies too. I'd go Pearl, X, and X close second.
Yeah.
And then Maxine. But I'll just go right into mine. I'm not doing mine as high of a score as her. Because it was unfortunate, and I think we had a lot of hype, me and you, Brian, going into this year. I think this is one of our most anticipated movies up there for us this year, and so yeah, I guess I was just a little disappointed. I don't know if my expectations were too high, but it's just that third act, and I love the time period, and I love the stuff they're doing. I think Maya Goth is amazing. None of the acting's bad in the movie at all, so I'm not gonna blame any of that, but it's just more of the storytelling, the way the plot shook out, the side characters just kind of feeling kind of bland and unrememberable. And so I'm going to go with a 71.
Okay.
It's not a terrible movie. I definitely recommend people to go see it. And if you liked X and Pearl, I'd say go see it. You know what I mean? And maybe, some people loved it. Some people didn't. So if you enjoyed those first two movies, you might like this one a lot. I don't know. But me personally, it just isn't up there with those other two. And I think we were looking at it earlier, Brian, but I think I gave Pearl a 90 and then X an 88 or an 89. So it's I love those first two movies. And like you said, this could have been almost a perfect trilogy, but unfortunately it just kind of fell a little short for me.
Yeah, Josh, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm kind of in the same range as you. When I left the theater, I told Mandy, I was like, well, because again, she's not a small guy. She goes, it's like an 8 out of 10, and I go on 100 scale. She's like probably 86, so she stayed true to that. And I said, I'm thinking like I can't remember. I either said 84 or 81. But now that
Mhm.
I've had time to sit with it, like again, just sitting here, I haven't really thought too much about it other than what I wanted to say on the podcast, and it didn't really
Yeah.
stick with me the way that X and Pearl did. So I'm going to drop a little bit lower. I'm going to not lower than you, but lower than what I had said originally. I'm going with a 79 on this one. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's just I don't know. Maybe we got our expectations too high, but at the same time, I don't think so. I think this movie truly did fall a little short than what we were expecting. I think that Pearl and X can go down as some of the best, is like of a duo, like a little duo movie, and maybe forget that
Yep.
Maxine even happened. But I hate to say that because I know Kid Cudi is executive producer on this one. A huge fan of that guy. But I don't know. It just you're right. Everyone that isn't Maxine or her dad is very forgettable throughout this movie. Like, there's not really
Right.
much going on there. But I'm still happy I went and saw it. And again, Mandy had fun, which is the number one thing because this is her jam. You know, she let me into her world on this one. It's her jam. I'm glad that she liked it at least.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The only time I imagine me watching this is if Mandy wants to rewatch all three together, which I highly doubt we
Right.
even do that. Like, if anything, she'll probably just want to watch Pearl. And then I'll be like, let's
Yeah.
watch X. And then we'll be like, well, we may as well finish the trilogy. That's what I imagine happening in the next couple years.
That's how it'd go down.
Yes, that's the only way it's going to happen. And Maxine, I would turn on as a palate cleanser from both Pearl and X.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was our Maxine review. Let us know what you guys think. Go download this if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify or any of those websites or apps. And then go check out our YouTube too. We're releasing House of the Dragons episodes every week. We got a lot of good shorts on there, exclusive stuff that's just on the YouTube. So, but we will be back with another horror movie or thriller, whatever you want to call it, Long Legs, which actually comes out the day this episode comes out. But I'm going to see it tonight.
One more thing. While we're on the topic of horror, and I even said this when we were walking out of the movie theater. We were talking about Mia Goth, and I thought maybe she looked a little more attractive in this one. Maybe just a little bit. She looked more healthier in the face wise, you know. Because my girlfriend instantly turned to, it's because she's a fucking blonde, and I go, no, that's not it. I go, just her face wise, she looked prettier. Like, I enjoyed her more in this.
I thought she was prettier in Pearl. I don't know.
You know what?
I think it's the color grading and everything.
I would actually agree that I think her prettiest is Pearl, but I liked her more in this than I did X. X, I thought her face always looked good, but something just seemed off. But I literally I said it to Amanda, and I said, hey, you know who she reminds me of? And she goes, who? I go, the chick from The Shining, Shelley Duvall. And
I can see that.
As we're recording this today, R.I.P. to Shelley Duvall. She went through a lot on the set of The Shining, is what we found out after the fact. Stanley Kubrick's kind of a dick, but it pushed a really good performance out of her, which unfortunately I don't think she really did much after that because of how scarred she was from that movie. But R.I.P. to her. Mia Goth did remind me a lot of her. But yeah, I figured that I should mention that because it did happen today. And yeah, so if you know what day she died on, then you know what day we recorded on. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. No, two great actresses, two great performances too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely can see that comparison that you're making, 100%. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
Love you guys.